There are no problems, but
Okay, now I
can you
think.
see
Okay.
it?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you see it
Okay.
in full screen mode? No.
No.
Okay,
No.
because there was this problem also yesterday, so maybe the best thing is doing like this. Okay?
Okay.
Let me see. Okay. So, good morning, everyone, and thank you to the chair of this session for inviting me. My name is Marco Rossitti, and today I will present you this research entitled Territorial Inequalities in Adaptive Reuse Opportunities, Evidence from Lombardy Region, that I produced together with Francesca Torrieri, a professor of real estate appraisal at Politecnico di Milano. I want to start from framing the context of this research. As you all know, cultural heritage is recognized as a key resource in promoting sustainable territorial development. And if we focus on its build dimension, so on architectural heritage, adaptive reuse can contribute to the global challenge of making the circular paradigm effective. For this reason, especially in the last decades, adaptive reuse has become the focus of the official and academic debate. However, many marginal territories that, as we know, are the main focus of this session, are not able to capture any benefit from built heritage assets. And this becomes an aspect that exacerbates the spatial imbalance and inequalities between urban areas and marginal territorial context. Understanding these inequalities is crucial to orient policy efforts toward their reduction and to assist marginal territories in deploying the heritage potential and contribution to territorial development. For this reason, the paper tried to propose a methodological tool inspired by a mass appraisal approach to assess the economic opportunities of reusing abandoned heritage properties while highlighting and quantifying the existing imbalances between urban and marginal areas. Here is the outline of the presentation. We move from framing the challenges and territorial inequalities of heritage reuse, then goes through the proposal of a three-step methodological approach, and then delves into a preliminary application to a set of abandoned properties in Lombardy region. Based on the results from this application, then some conclusions and future perspectives for this research are drawn. So, starting from framing the challenges and territorial inequalities of heritage reuse, we all know that adaptive reuse, intended as the process of endowing an historical building with a new function, entails a high level of complexity. Such a complexity stems first for the need to balance the need to preserve the material and intangible values of heritage assets with modern requirement in terms of safety, accessibility, and energy performance. Then, intervention on heritage assets is made even more complex by the presence of restrictions imposed by protection laws that usually bring to higher cost of restoration and maintenance interventions, and this higher cost often discourage private intervention due to the risk of not meeting an ordinary profit expectation. For this reason, most of the management of this kind of assets, of the burden of this management, is in the end of the public sector that, as we know, especially in Italy, is affected by financial constraints and is not able to properly manage this kind of assets. However, if these challenges are common to any kind of heritage asset, if we focus on marginal territories, the situation becomes even more complex due to some specific characteristics of this territory that usually show a weak administrative capacity in terms of financial and human resources that clashes with the complexity of processes on heritage assets, the lack of a vibrant economic environment and the consequent lack of a demand for vacant spaces that is a retaining factor for private intervention, and first of all, the ongoing demographic shrinking dynamics that are most severe for young population, thus depriving marginal territories of their social innovation capital. All these factors put together outlines a critical situation that the most recent policy efforts, as for instance the National Strategy for Inner Area, have only partially mitigated. But to further push these efforts toward effectiveness, new knowledge bases and decision support tools are required. For this reason, the paper proposes a methodological tool to assess the economic opportunities from reusing heritage properties at large administrative territorial scales. But which are the main requirements for such a tool that need to be applied at many properties within an administrative context? For sure, they must be the applicability, the practicality, and the speed of use. For this reason, we decided to structure the evaluation tool according to a mass appraisal logic that is intended as a systematic approach to expressing a value judgment for many properties at a specific moment in time by using standardized procedure. However, the uniqueness of heritage assets can somehow clash with such a need for standardization. For this reason, we decided to resort to the transformation value appraisal criterion to express a specifically valid value judgment. So here there is a detail of the proposed methodological approach that is structured in 3 steps. So the first step moves from a knowledge premise structuring that requires for each property in our sample, so each abandoned property analyzed, to define its main characteristics in terms of conservation state, typology, ownership condition, and location, and to define some possible and compatible reuse scenarios. So, based on the input from the first phase, we can move to the core evaluation step of the methodological approach, that is the transformation value appraisal, that requires estimating the transformation cost based on the property characteristics and the market value related to the different reuse scenarios. So, by merging these input data and bringing them into the equation of the transformation value, it's possible to obtain a transformation value for each of the reuse scenario, and among them identify what we call the highest and best reuse value. So, based on this input and this approach for all the properties considered, it's possible to define 2 main clusters of properties. The first cluster that we called financially sustainable, that includes abandoned properties with a positive transformation value, and the second cluster that is called financially unsustainable, that includes abandoned properties with a negative transformation value. So we decided to test this tool on a first case study. And we decided, of course, to focus in Italy, that has the country with the highest amount of UNESCO sites in the world, and more than 200,000 protected heritage assets, is a relevant territorial context to test the tool implementation. Furthermore, we know that protection of abandoned heritage is a key concern in territorial planning, and as a proof of this, in 2019, the Italian Ministry of Culture launched a project to map abandoned heritage properties widespread across the national territory. This project in Italian is called Censimento dei beni culturali abbandonati. Today, almost 3,000 properties have been mapped, and most of the mapped assets are in Lombardy region. And if we focus on this context, we see that 11 out of 12 provinces in Lombardy region have at least one abandoned property mapped in the census, with the highest concentration in Milan, Cremona, and Mantova. Focusing on the typology of this property, we can identify 2 main typologies of assets relating. In this case, the typology is expressed in terms of original use of the property. The residential typology is the most frequent, followed by the industrial one. If instead we focus on the conservation state, a critical condition clearly emerges for this kind of properties. Indeed, in all the provinces, at least 50% of them is in a poor or very poor conservation state. And this percentage becomes even higher in Bergamo, Pavia, and Lodi province, where it reaches a percentage from 80 to 90%. Now, for the tool implementation, we decided to focus on a pilot case study, so a subset of abandoned property in Lombardy region, and we selected this property according to 2 main criteria: a typological criterion, and so we decided to focus on military and industrial properties, because due to their more flexible layout compared to other kind of heritage properties, as for instance churches, it's more feasible to imagine a broader spectrum of transformation possibilities. And then we decided to use also a territorial distribution criterion. So we decided to focus on an homogeneous administrative context, in this case, one province, that included properties in municipality characterized by different marginality conditions, so that we could evaluate and also compare the reuse opportunities between urban context and marginal context. Delving into the methodological tool implementation, we moved from producing an information sheet for each property by collecting all the relevant information about them. Then, in this first application, we defined 3 basic and general reuse scenarios that are the residential, the commercial, and the tertiary, and then we applied the transformation value formal equation, thus identifying the highest and best use for each property, and expressing an overall judgment about the economic opportunities of adaptive reuse. Focusing on the results from this first application, before delving into them, I want to add that in the description of the property and also in the identification of the location, we added another layer of information. So together with the municipality, we added the classification of the municipality according to the National Strategy for Inner Area, that, as you all know, classify the Italian territory in 5 different areas according to their distance from the main center, so according to an accessibility criterion. So the center is the place where all services are located. Then we have peri-urban area, intermediate, peripheral, and ultra-peripheral. So what are the main results from our first application? That territorial disparities clearly emerge. Indeed, the properties belonging to the financial sustainable cluster, so the one showing a positive financial result in terms of transformation value, are mainly located in Brescia. That is the only center in our sample according to the National Strategy for Inner Area classification, but also in intermediate municipalities that are attractive from a tourism point of view due to the presence of the lake amenity of the Lake of Garda, that are Toscolano, Maderno, and Salò, while all the other properties, both located in peri-urban or in peripheral area, show negative financial results. Another important aspect is the cruciality of the conservation state. Indeed, also in Brescia, that we said is the only center, the poor or very poor conservation state of an asset leads to a negative results in terms of transformation value. And then the third takeoff is that the residential function emerge always as the highest and best use. This is a quite obvious result for all of us who know the Italian real estate market. But what is important is that in some cases, as Toscolano Maderno, it is the only one ensuring a positive financial result. And this can be quite dangerous somehow from our perspective, because we know that even if industrial and military assets are the one with a more flexible layout and so that can allow a bigger transformation possibility, the requirement of a residential property can clash with the preservation need for this abandoned heritage, thus making this kind of transformation not so feasible. So, coming to the conclusion, I want to recall that this paper proposes a 3-step methodological approach inspired by a mass appraisal logic to assess the economic opportunities of reusing abandoned heritage properties, while highlighting and quantifying the existing imbalances between urban and marginal context. We think that the main contribution from this tool is that these results can be the base to tackle the challenge of heritage abandonment by supporting public and private interventions in the adaptive reuse field. So, from a public perspective, these results can be an information layer guiding the definition of effective and tailored funding allocation mechanisms, while on the private perspective, they can provide an information ground to orient and promote investments in the adaptive reuse, thus triggering the establishment of some kind of public-private partnerships for this kind of assets, where the private can find an interest on these regeneration processes. Of course, the willingness to fully deploy this tool potential and also to allow its scalability to the territorial context require dealing with its limits, of which we are fully aware. First of all, the lack of accurate data for the scalability and replicability of the analysis, and secondly, the narrow perspective toward the defined reuse scenario that now are limited to some very vague and also generic scenario. So, the future research perspectives will be devoted to building a comprehensive data set of input cost data for different typologies and conservation states that can be adapted to different regional contexts to take into account the differences in cost among different regions, and also revenue data related to a broader array of reuse hypotheses that somehow should be catered to these realities specificities, and we think that this is the greatest challenge, finding a balance between the standardization requirement of a tool inspired by mass appraisal and somehow use a context-based approach to the definition of the input parameter for this kind of analysis. My presentation is concluded, and I thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Marco. Are there any questions about the intervention? No? Okay. Okay, so Marco, I have just a curiosity for you about your research. Thank you also for this proceeding. And I want to know your thinking about the role of the academia in these regeneration processes, and how can academia can support public authorities in create some fundings for supporting these development processes.
Okay, thank you for this interesting question. That is something I think very relevant today. No, I do think that, especially for this kind of approaches, if for a kind of discipline like ours that somehow is a bridge between the world of academia and the world of public administration and the privates, this role is our role as academic can be fundamental, and we have a lot of experience that demonstrate this. And I want to underline that this kind of census was developed together with an architectural restoration professor at Politecnico di Milano. So it would be really interesting to add this kind of part to that census. That is, of course, is not exhaustive. We cannot decide based only on this kind of tool and a financial result that is given by the application of a vertical transformation value. But it can be an additional layer of information, so each of us can bring its own knowledge, background, and its own expertise to build a broader frame that can help public administrations that are not the technical and also the capacity in terms of number of human resources to address these issues.
Okay, thank you so much, Marco.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, then we have another contribution by Maria Rosa Trovato, Ludovica Nasca, Salvatore Giuffrida, and Vittoria Ventura. And I ask Maria Rosa Trovato to share the screen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ludovica Nasca. I present the contribute.
Are you the presenter?
Okay. Yeah, exactly. I'll share my screen. Okay. Can you see the presentation of the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Ludovica Nasca, and first of all, I wanted to thank Professors Rolando Barrega, Rabaudengo, and Malavasi for giving us the opportunity to present our research. This study is a part of ongoing research that we are carrying out on territorial rebalancing, and it's about convergences and gaps at the regional and infra-regional levels. So the gap between southern and central northern in Italy is deep and structural, and is caused by historical imbalances in effective public policies and weak local governance, which have increased socio-economic vulnerability. In many areas of the South, there is a low level of services, poor infrastructure, low digitalization, and marked inequality, even on an infra-regional scale, for instance, between coastal and inland areas or between cities and rural areas. Well, according to ISTAT, these critical issues compromise the demographic sustainability of the South. So this is already marked by a significant decrease in birth rates, youth immigration, and poor results in education, employment, and healthcare. Still, per capita GDP has remained stable for over 20 years, and it's about 58% of that of Center North. Southern Italy faces serious disparities compared to the rest of the country, amplified by the 2008 crisis, the pandemic, and ongoing conflicts. And despite this, with over 20 million inhabitants and a potentially significant production system, it represents an opportunity for Italy's development. Over the years, several national and European instruments and funds have been activated to address the economic and social delay of the southern regions. Still, disparities persist even within the same regions, where larger centers attract more resources than small municipalities, and coastal areas compete with inland areas, generating different levels of marginalization. Weak territories so risk becoming weaker, even in spite of ad hoc policies and funding, and exposing themselves to a progressive loss of their values. So given the complexity of the issue, cohesion policies aimed at territorial rebalancing should be developed and implementing within a systemic perspective of the issue of gaps at national and regional level. From this perspective, it's possible to connect strong areas with weaker ones, promoting territorial rebalancing. And for this, the aim of the study is to propose a cognitive model that can detect the convergences and gaps between different areas at the regional level, applied to the case study of Sicily, and developed from the axiological perspective of territorial capital forms. So this model aims to detect areas of convergences at infra-regional gaps in order to identify more effective, efficient, and equitable strategies for territorial rebalancing. Well, Sicily is a prime example of this dynamics, and it's Italy's largest region with a population density of about 200 inhabitants for square kilometers and a declining population. Still, the birth rate is an all-time low, and the mortality rate is rising, and the aging of the population is clear, with marked differences between provinces. Well, here we can see the stages that make up the cognitive model aimed at identifying gaps and convergences at the regional and sub-regional level. So first of all, the identification of territorial capital forms. Second, the construction of a geodatabase with indicators that characterizing the territorial capital forms. Then the analysis of territorial cluster based on a fuzzy clustering analysis of the indicators characterize the territorial capital forms with the aim of highlighting infra-regional convergences and gaps. Well, fuzzy clustering is a technique that is part of soft clustering, so it allows data to be allocated to cluster in such a way that elements in the same cluster are as similar as possible, and while elements in different clusters are as dissimilar as possible. So it's an effective tool for identifying the underlying structures of dataset based on similarity measures. In the context of the proposed research, fuzzy clustering makes it possible to identify indicator clusters for different forms of capital, taking into account the specific characteristic of the data. These are characterized by different degree of similarity to the clusters, so that hard clustering will reduce the information content of the data, which is the best captured by soft clustering. Then spatial cluster analysis using QGIS to identify convergences and gaps of territorial capital.
Sorry, Ludovica, the presentation is blocked.
No, it's the right slide because I'm on the fourth point. It's spatial cluster analysis.
Okay.
Can you see me?
Yes.
The presentation. Okay, I'm still at the same slide. I was explaining the spatial cluster analysis, the QGIS method. Okay. So based on the spatial cluster using QGIS, that is based on cluster number generated, and at the end, the analysis of the minimum and the maximum values and standard deviation of the territorial capital forms indicator to identify convergences and gaps at the infraregional level. The indicators for each form of capital are analyzed using fuzzy clustering with ICCSA software. So the Kaufman and Rousseau algorithm was used for fuzzy clustering, and the number of clusters is selected for each form of capital on the basis of two goodness of statistics, that is Down's normalized partition coefficient and Kaufman's normalized partition coefficient. So the criterion used for selecting the solution, which is the number of clusters, is the one that maximizes Down's normalized partition coefficient and minimizes Kaufman's normalized partition coefficient. So gaps and coverages at the regional level are identified according to the number of clusters. So many clusters show regional heterogeneity in the forms of capital distribution, and the intensity of gaps and convergences is measured according to the averages of standardized values of indicator within the cluster. Gaps and convergences at the sub-regional level are identified and measured based on the standard deviation. A high standard deviation of indicators within the cluster highlights gaps, while a low standard deviation highlights convergences. So here we can see some results. So from an axiological perspective and based on a literature review, we have been identified 6 forms of capital, of territorial capital, which are human, urban, natural, economic, environmental, and infrastructural capital. And we identified 13 indicators for human capital, 26 for urban, 30 for economic capital, 5 for natural, and 13 for environmental, and 67 indicators for infrastructural capital. So here, some results, and the figures shows the map of cluster C1 and C2. And as you can see, there is a little divergence at the regional level with only 2 clusters identified. And the first cluster includes municipality with a lower level of human capital endowment, and the second, those with a high endowment. There is also a significant divergences with cluster C2 in the infraregional scale. So fuzzy clustering for urban capital shows 3 clusters, and there is a significant divergence at the regional level than in urban areas. For infrastructural capital, fuzzy clustering determined 5 clusters. there are divergences which in most cases coincide with the administrative boundaries of the 9 Sicilian provinces, and infra-regional divergences are more pronounced with different values of the level of infrastructural capital endowment. So the divergences observed in terms of infrastructural endowment highlight a strong criticality, not only in terms of distribution, but also in terms of the general level of endowment at the regional level, which is already low if we compare this to the national level. In fact, the areas characterized by higher values of territorial capital endowment in the estimated classification with reference to regional scale have a lower level of infrastructural capital endowment than the areas in the center node. So in this classification, the areas characterized by lower values of infrastructural capital endowment show very marked disparity compared with those in center node. Well, for economic capital fuzzy clustering identified two clusters indicating less significant divergence in economic capital endowment level at the regional level. And there is a significant divergence at the infra-regional scale. So for natural capital, there is a little divergence at the regional level with only two clusters identified due to the different distribution in the territory of Sicily. And as regards environmental capital, there is little divergence at the regional level with only two clusters identified. So, in conclusion, the main differences at the regional and sub-regional level are here highlighted, and at the regional scale, we have less marked divergences for human, economic, natural, and environmental capital, more marked divergences for urban capital, and very strong divergences for infrastructural capital. At the infra-regional scale, we have divergences in human capital, significant divergences for urban and infrastructural capital endowment, and divergences for natural and environmental capital. In conclusion, the cognitive model proposed might be helpful for decision makers to identify policies, measure, or adapt funding to support the development of this area efficiently and effectively. In particular, analysis of human, urban, infrastructural, and economic capital by highlighting the weakest and the strongest areas might be supportive for policies that are aimed at territorial rebalancing and the development of measures to reduce gaps and strengthen areas with higher levels of these forms of capital. Natural capital analysis might be supportive for the identification of appropriate measures to protect and enhance the natural heritage. And environmental capital analysis might be supportive for policies development to mitigate environmental risks, which are becoming, as we know, increasingly severe and recurrent, including those related, for instance, to climate change. Well, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Are there any questions?
I've got a question.
No, vai tu. No, Manu, okay.
Vado? Thank you, Ludovica. Considering that your approach is really interesting, I've got a curiosity. So please, can you add some details on future development of this research?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your interesting point. The aim of this research is, first of all, to explore additional and more robust metrics for measure convergences and gaps, and also future developments could be to provide a general overview of convergences and disparities for the regions of the southern Italy, but could also be extended to regions of the central and northern Italy. So most important, this process could provide a complete cognitive framework of convergences and gaps in Italy, which could be used to plan, targeted and integrated action according with the territorial equity. And I think that's is very important. That's the point.
Thank you, Fermi.
Okay, we have another question.
Hello. Ciao Ludovica. What do you think about to overlap all the clustering analysis to have just one final map with all the different clusters, positive and negative, for all the types of capital to identify some areas like totally positive or totally negative?
Thank you for this question. It's very interesting. In fact, we thought about this, and I think that could be very interesting. And in fact, this paper is a part of a much larger study that we are conducting together with professors. And this is, I think, an excellent point. And we made something similar, but I'll definitely consider it. It's very, very interesting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ludovica, for your contribution.
Thank you.
And then we have our last contribution for this Schweiber, sorry for the pronunciation, with a contribution on how bio-inspired smart home system can open new frontiers in sustainable living and energy management. So I give the floor to Ahmed.
Shall I stay?
Yes. Here.
Okay.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can see me online. I can do.
Yes, yes.
Right. Okay, great. My name is, I come from Jordan, Urdun, and in Arabic it's called Ahmed Shaheba. So it's even harder, even harder than sounds in English. I'm associate professor at Zayed University, UAE, United Arab Emirates, and I've been engaged in several research about smart homes. And by the way, that should be located, my presentation should be located yesterday, but because I have also one paper today, so I asked them actually to push it. So maybe I'm a guest here today on that session. But I hope the themes are similar to a certain stage. I'm interested in smart homes. Are you familiar with smart homes? Okay. It's an IoT. Yeah, it's more than high tech. It's an IoT, Internet of Things. It's where you just need to enter your home, scanning your face. It's so facial recognition, and then it recognizes you, and then you open, and then it probably, since it's identifying you in home, it probably opens the curtains, turning on the coffee machine, adjusting the TV channel, and so on. So all these things are connected together. My challenge, and I'm going to mention it now because it has been now probably like 15 years of applying those smart homes. So this is smart home in general. It's where we live in intelligence, smartly connected. We can control it definitely through our mobile devices, but again, we as humans part of that object at home. So This is, I would say, IoT plus IoB, because it now become also connected to our bodies. So it recognizes our bodies as well. So it's not only to remotely accessing smart homes, because that was called automated homes, and this is like past 20 years ago. Now it's more smart, it's customizable, and it's for solution. And in one of my articles, I had an interview with the nationals in UAE, and I was saying that we need actually smart homes as part of solutions rather than just a lifestyle. There must be a solution for probably children with obesity, or probably for elderly people with Alzheimer's, or probably contours somehow our behavior, probably with the devices, because we sometimes stick to the devices hours, and no one knows how many hours I'm sticking. So this is what we're looking. And by the way, the UAE is really pushing towards smart homes. It's big flats now. It's becoming smartly furnished. So it's not only furnished. We're looking for smartly furnished apartments. The prevalence of smart homes, it's becoming more prevalent by time. Mainly US, China, some parts of Asia, Europe as well, Western Europe, I would say North Europe, India, it's not bad, and then Australia, and some parts here and there, and still yet is coming for the other parts of the world. So still, I mean, expecting more and more. There is one report by UAE. They are aiming by 2030, and this is the next vision to them, that at least 30% of the houses to be smartly furnished of UAE. But I mean, UAE is still small. So where's the problem? The problem is energy. It's about cost. It's about electricity. It's about security. It's about convenience, living. It's a bunch of factors that are correlated together and yet to be blended into one solution. So we need, I argue that we need a bio one, a green one when it comes to energy. And here we need an AI green algorithm. My friend and I are working on this now. We also need this smart home honestly to be secured. That's why we're proposing blockchain rather than any security protocols. And it's about the layers that we need to connect those devices all together. And this is where we need the real-time edge computing, so that the devices takes the decision in that edge, at the edge, not going back to the server and get communication, especially when we need the real-time responses. You know, sometimes I need it now to be open. I wouldn't like wait for a response from the server and get it back again. This is basically our objectives, and I'm proposing the idea, and some students from the masters and undergrad will be working with me later. So for now, we are proposing the solution, and then we are waiting for some hardware to purchase by Zayed University. They are hosting this project. I received several funds from them. This is a quick snapshot of the literature. As you can see, like every single home in the research is focusing on one single aspect. Some in about probably the edge computing, the others only about security, how to make it secure. The others, there are very, very few attempts whether to go green, okay? And here's probably where we need to identify our contribution. I think we need to tick all the boxes. Theoretically, it's easy. Practically, it's not. And this is our project for the coming 2 years. So we are trying to make it interactive for the user experience. We are trying to make it more green with the AI. We are working on Nerware algorithm. It's about also blockchain. Anisha, she's like a faculty member. She is the one for the blockchain for securing. So it's multi-software capabilities now that needs to be integrated here. Here are methodologies, and as I'm saying, this is also only a prototype. We are just proposing the solution based on the literature. Here's what we need: cloud needed through the Amazon AWS with Microsoft Azure. We need the Raspberry Pi sensors. We need the triboelectric sensors as well. HVAC, okay, for the ACs. Blockchain for security. We're still, again, we might be very looking optimal about this, but we'll see how it goes. Here's the deployment model where it links all the layers. And in the literature, several times they call it multi-layer small films. So this is where it starts at least with the infrastructure and architecture. Okay, so all devices are integrated, but then the security layer, and then the green layer, that is the AI layer, and then the user interface. Okay, here what makes it more interactive with the user. And more interactive, again, it's not to control it by the mobile. It should be automatically interactive by voice, okay, by face, by motion as well. We're trying to find this setting. This is the sequence diagram as part of the object-oriented modeling of the actors and the main use cases and how the messages are signaling. This is what we try to come up with to implement it, starting definitely from the user and back to the user. Even if it is autonomous, even if it is, it should be always self-controlled by the user, and this is one part of our concern. Yes, it's self-controlled, it is autonomous, yet to be controlled by the user, because if it's out of our control, then as one Japanese scholar and researcher say, then, and he provided that example in one of the talks, he mentioned that probably one day I'll be receiving 5 kilos of bananas while I didn't order. This is the biggest concern, because it's not only controlling the resources inside the house, it's also controlling the resources outside. So it starts to talk with the grocery and with the other parties. And we need it to that level, especially when it comes to the car, with the house and the car. Okay, so we need those to talk together. It's not anymore to open the door and just open the gate and close it anymore. It should be done automatically. So they need to recognize themselves now. The car recognizes the house and so on. This is the same with grocery. It's not only to recognize what is there inside the fridge. In terms of what's lacking, what needs to be reordered. It should be also know from where to do the order and how much based on my daily consumption. This is yet another challenging thing. And I have another paper with my students proposing that a software application, mobile application called "What's in My Fridge." We have that daily question like, what's for lunch for today? What's for lunch for today? What's for lunch? And the mother definitely needs to find an answer for this. What you'd like to have for lunch? Okay. So what's in fridge? This is basically it scans the objects in the fridge, and then it states like it's like 70% pasta, but you're still lacking 1, 2, 3. Would you like me to order them from the grocery? Then just okay. And again, it should be back to me. Okay. So this is basically how it should go. How security this should be. How convenience should be. This is the thing. This is part of the interfaces that my students have started with. It's also a prototype. I wouldn't say it's a big machine. So here's what we are aiming. Again, this is only a proposed prototype. We are still waiting for the hardware from the university to provide. We are aiming at this target, setting benchmark for us for energy efficiency, at least to be set like 25%. Otherwise, it wouldn't be considered as green. Response rate as well. And this is probably our biggest time here, the response rate. Another thing, by the way, it's in markets, we tend to have those many smart gadgets and home appliances. They name it smart, but they are not smart. It's like a TV. Only because it's connected to online or YouTube, they call it smart TV. This is not smart TV, and this couldn't be considered as an appliance or a gadget in a smart home. This is not. This is connectivity. This is a mobile TV with connectivity. This is a TV with application to connect you to YouTube. Okay, but this is not smart again. So that's why the response rate, it knows me, and it knows exactly my mood and what's the time. So it's probably the news channel for me, or probably football. Sorry about me, it's not my wife. So this is again challenging in terms of time. It knows you, who is in home, who is accessing what, at what stage. That should be calculated. This is another algorithm. Okay, I wouldn't go further details, but I can hear you. He's saying that probably next year it will be in Portugal. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll probably present my results designed in next year. We'll definitely see you. We'll definitely see you. So again, prototype. We received the fund. We received like 293,000 dirhams. So we are just purchasing procurements. I have Raspberry Pi in the office. I have the sensors, but we need like further things. Also, the subscription with Microsoft Azure that needs to be. Although we are building partners with Microsoft. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Please let's connect also. This is under this QR code. You can find my URL for the webpage. Right.
I don't have questions. Maybe a possible future development or suggestion for your. I don't know if you consider the possibility to evaluate the willingness to pay of the final users.
Mm-hmm.
Probably is not your topic, it's our topic, but it's an interesting aspect that can be explored in order to complete your method. I don't know if it's coherent or not, but
it could be
interesting.
This might be the other part of the story, the social technical one. It's probably to surveying the user, and we need first the user to test it, and then getting the feedback by probably surveying or interviewing.
Yeah.
I think this is possible because I also do this. This is part of my research, social technical. So I can share a quick glance on my Google Scholar file, and I'll show you. I work as part of it. Sorry, I'm just should know. So here's part of it. Sorry, it's Turkish. No way to me. Shall I just type my name?
University is not smart.
No, it's not smart. This is a good thing. I'll try to find myself. Yeah. We definitely need to test the user experience, and this is part of. As you said, this is part of the second story. Even the perceived risks and perceived privacy concerns. This should be also a thing. Sure, I hate to do this, but here's, by the way, the
So you work with students.
many projects, and although it's very hectic, it's very hard, but I like to work with it, especially for the senior project, capstone project. So this is like what's in my fridge. But other about smart homes. So that's probably one of the highest exciting. It's about understanding user acceptance. So it's probably
it's related.
It's somehow related. So we tend also to look at the factors. That's why I'm saying that the top tier that we need to look at is the user experience. We can't stop at the technical level. We need to go up and see if the user is really enjoying it or not. This is the first thing. Second challenge, it depends on who is the user. The user at home is probably children, again, elderly, people with sometimes disabilities, and sometimes people who hate technology, by the way, who are just not technology savvy. So that thing should be really understood and considered. That implies many factors to understand, to really look toward this understanding.
Yes, I have another question, and the first one is already, I will read it because I'm wondering about the level of trust. Because in automatic vehicle, you always have to check the level, yes, the trust of users, and in this case, household, in the use of these automatic homes. And the other question is more connected with the one of my colleague, is if you study how will change the real estate market with these type of homes, and if these type of technologies has an influence on the price formation in the real estate market.
So the second part is more economic, which I'm aware, to be honest. It's not my area, but you are correct. This is an important thing. I think now we need someone to look at it from economic perspective. I'm not that much, okay, when it comes to economy. However, it's about trust. I did several research about trust in smart homes and smart energy meters as part of smart grids as well. So trust is multifaceted and multidimensional, and it goes from institutional trust to trust disposition and cultural and social things. So trust is complex. I've done several as well. Yeah. Trust was part of correct. By the way, that was my PhD thesis. Yeah. So trust is my thing. Okay. I started with trust. And trust based on McKnight's theory. He has a big model, okay, where he has that levels of trust. Trust something which might be intrinsic, but then might be influential. It depends on the significant others and the vendor, the cultural, social, and economic as well. So it has several aspects. And whenever we are going to understand user acceptance, definitely trust needs to be one constraint, one variable in the model, which most likely is there.
Yes, and also for the interface.
Yeah. And one thing I've come to really very interesting research, how much trust is associated with aesthetic and nicely layout and interface. We tend to trust the nicely designed interfaces, even if it's scanned, by the way. If it's well nicely designed, it means most likely trustworthy, while it's not. Another thing is about the branding. You know, when it comes to smart homes, if it's Siemens, I mean, Siemens have a very big project when it comes to smart homes worldwide, and they are now doing it like widely. So, and the second one worldwide now is happening is Xiaomi. Xiaomi is running a very huge project worldwide, now becoming part of the UAE, one biggest of real estate, Emaar, it's called the Emaar, in Dubai. And now they signed a contract, and I announced for this, by the way, 3 years ago. So I think we are jumping to the AI era, and now we are just living it. Generative AI should be part of it as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I just got this one.
Yes, our discipline sector is economic evaluation and real estate.
That's why I need
you.
Yeah, let's collaborate then. I think there is a room for collaboration.
Yeah.
Maybe you can look at it from the perspective that
we study, for example, the impact of sustainable indicators and sustainable challenge of homes in the price formation processes. And it's something that we will present tomorrow. But it is the same. The IoT or smart characteristics of an apartment and habitation will have an influence in the formation process, but maybe in the willingness to pay. So if it's something that users want and homeowners want, and then it will have an impact that changes the market and requirements. It's really interesting, but seems to talk about future.
Okay, I think that the session is over. So thank you so much to all the participants, and see you next year, maybe, for another session. Manuela, do you want to say something?
No, it's okay for me. Thank you, Giorgia.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, Marco.
Bye, ciao.
Ciao.
Nice to see you. Yeah. Thank you for your nice contribution.
Thank you.
Is that nice house? Is that fixed?
Yes, yes. If you start at 4, I know.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can turn it on 15 minutes before.
Yes, I will be there.
Yeah.
It's a short session. We are four. One of them, one of the authors are presented in the first day because one of the authors wanted to because was left, but another of the authors at the same paper is here to present because they have paid 2 registrations for the same paper. It's perfect. I'm smiling because it's too much money. But it's not with me. So.
Very nice to meet you. What a pleasure.
Yes, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, hope to see you future.
Yes, maybe next year or not.
Yeah, perhaps.
Okay, so thank you again for your assistance.
Pleasure.
Tell me when Cinderella danced like yesterday, that perfect scene that I have seen. You are smiling, but you are also Turkish, yes?
No, I'm not Turkish.
No.
I'm Persian.
Okay, so you know to dance differently. But I love to see that yesterday. It was so nice.
Yeah, it was a really cool environment.
It was too intense, but it was very nice. I loved it a lot.
Yeah.
It was
Talking
nice.
about yesterday.
Thank you.
It was
Yes, we try to stay in time. But we have to run a little bit. Bye.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I hope to see you again in the future.
Yeah. Okay.
in that place that it's forbidden to say now, no?
Yeah.
Yes.
See you this evening. Ladies and
I know. It's my place.
Yeah, all yours.
It's easier for me. I hate these things, but I shouldn't because it's 5 years long. With this, I will be in half an hour.
Okay. Yes, it will. The next session. Oh, yeah. Yeah, presentation. No, hoping to see one. Okay. Is this the HG? Oh, yeah, this one. Yeah. 3:50.
Is that? It's only to click there? No.
No, it just this is just for the information.
Okay. Oh, no.
Portugal?
Yes. That's why I smile when you said.
Oh, did you know that? For the next year.
I was there.
Oh, yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah,
It's less expensive.
yeah, but I have been in Lisbon. It was really nice.
Yes. I like Portugal very much. And I avoid to work. In past, I avoided to work in. I was invited to work in Austria, in Vienna, and it was very. I had great advantages, but I thought in my family.
Yeah.
So I stayed in Portugal.
Yeah.
But we can't think in that way, so we lose a lot of another things, you know.
Yeah.
I'm too old to something like that.
Yeah.
It was about 15 years ago, and no, my kids were as their friends from anything.
That is the voice of your heart.
Yes, it was what I had to do because I was not officially by
Yeah.
by my mother. I thought that my mother was a little cardiac, a strong cardiac,
Yeah.
and I thought my mother will become alone. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I'm okay. I hear I'm not with so many money, but I'm not asking to anybody, so it's okay.
Yeah.
It's one.
Yeah, this is the admin of the technical.
Okay, and that is me. Okay.
Yeah. And the general issue, when you want to share something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's equal without any word I can.
Yeah, it's okay. Just
I need
this one, then press this, then okay.
Okay. Okay is this?
Yeah. For example, this.
Okay.
But the language is not in English. That is why I try to explain it.
Okay. It's not one, it's another.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Olá! Pensei que tinhas ido dar uma voltinha com os teus filhotes.
Não.
Coitadinhos. Queres pôr aqui a tua apresentação? Também podes. Ouve lá, já que estás cá, e já que pagaste a FII, é que repara que foram 2 FIIs, até me dá dó. 2 FIIs. Eu estive a aprender como é que isto funcionava, mas está ali a Poema. Ai, o meu rato, não sei se é. Ai, tá. Não, é que os meus ratos vão todos. Vocês podem servir-se das águas. Olha, se puseres em frente à janela, eu estive aí 2 horas, está-se maravilhoso. Não sentes calor. Eu vou abrir aqui o meu ICCSA, porque eu tenho um relatório para fazer sobre as apresentações. Só descobri isso há pouco tempo.
É ali?
Sim, foi aí.
É onde? Qual é que é o portal?
Olha, eu não fiz nada. Olá, bom dia ou boa tarde.
Boa tarde.
Ainda que somos. Não sei.
Só para pôr a apresentação.
Até me pôr aqui neste.
Bom dia em Brasília.
Bom dia. Aí é bom dia. Está bem. Bom dia. Não sei, deve ser esta.
Tudo bem com vocês?
Estou aqui a pôr tudo bem, ainda só estamos a falar português, portanto, quando estiver aqui. Ora, é a segunda. Estou a trabalhar num computador em turco.
Isso.
Qual?
Isto, péssimo. Não, isso não.
Então vá. Nós temos é por aqui no mínimo.
Vamos enviar
por aqui. Se calhar podes por aí num cantinho.
Aqui, assim.
Abre, mas tu não queres partilhar, ainda não está partilhado. Está partilhado ou não?
Não fiz nada.
Temos que entrar no Jitsi, que já não. Onde é que está aqui o Jitsi? Prontos. Agora não estou a ver ninguém.
Eu tenho um nome, podes ver?
O que é que aconteceu hoje, Jitsi? Ok. Sim? Já voltei outra vez.
Queres que eu abra todas?
Não estão aí.
Abertas?
Não, é só uma que vai estar aberta. Eles depois têm que. Sim, este deixa estar. Espera lá, não sei se está partilhado ou não, percebes?
Acho que não.
Não, então deixa estar aberto.
Eu vou abrir assim o meu computador.
Sim, assim está o computador aberto. Pronto, está bem. Pronto, temos que esperar um bocadinho, está bem? Que eu acho que ainda não está na hora, falta um quarto de hora. Está bem? Pronto. Acho que estou aqui. Bom, deixa eu sentar.
1.200 euros só para apresentar uma coisa. 1.200 euros só para apresentar uma coisa.
Isto mais vale por mais um ou outro. Mas, não, ele quis vir. Sim. Fez bem em vir, até viu a qualidade. Não, eu não sei, viu a qualidade.
Ele apresentou uma coisa de maneira diferente.
Exatamente, tu vais apresentar mais a outra parte. Mas eu gostei da parte
dele. Das escalas.
Sim.
Eu vou ser mais sucinta, tá bem?
Pode ser, a última até.
É a última.
Eu não sei se está conseguindo catar. Este ir ao fim da tarde dá jeito, sabes porquê? Porque no Brasil são outras horas, lá é de manhã.
Ainda bem.
Eu hoje já falei, o pedreiro, com não sei quanto, com não sei o que mais, teclaram depois. O restaurador. Entrar no mix. Foste almoçar?
Sim.
Sabes que hoje não há. Sabes que hoje não há transporte.
Pois não. Tem que ser do hotel por lá. Vais pedir Uber?
Do hotel.
Não, mas do hotel depois não chega.
Estamos
Mas faz aqui.
Epá, não, é às 7. A bebida começa às 7.
Mas vais daqui já para lá?
Eu vou. Eu não vou ir ao hotel.
Não?
Não é isso, custa muito a subir aqui.
Isso cai da volta. Vou no computador. Não dá computador.
Não, ou então vou, porque depois vamos ficar que sempre aquilo é longe.
Sim.
Só então uma vez não custa
Não
nada.
sei.
Não, sim.
Fica para o computador para a noite. Ainda não. Eu começo lá.
7.
7h15. E o jantar às 8. Ah, já tem. Primeiro chego aqui mais tarde.
Vê lá se na área da ICSA tens alguma coisa para fazer os relatórios. Porque, senão, porque eu faço o teu, mas eu, por exemplo, acho que não é ético eu fazer o da Marina. Está bem. Mas vê lá se não tens. Eu faço do workshop share, mas eu acho que o da Marina, sendo eu coautora, não é ético. Percebes? Se não põe lá um comentário que sou coautora e, portanto, não apreciarei este percebes-me? Pois. Ainda falta 10 minutos. Mas se calhar não tens. Está por baixo. Opa, está no terceiro quadro. Antes de ter o download dos e-books. E antes do Pay with Credit Card. Está logo a seguir a My Account.
Não, lá já entrei.
É um P já.
Agora sim, essa parte. Agora essa parte.
Já entraram 2, mas os senhores ucranianos ainda não entraram. Acho que já agora.
Qual é que é o nosso? Sabes qual é que é o nosso livro?
O nosso quê?
Onde é que nós estamos no livro?
Não me lembro. Tu tens aqui 10 livros quase para fazer download. Eu não vou fazer. Não com o meu. Não com a minha net. Mas nós temos 2 semanas. Aqui não é 2 semanas. Temos, quando chegar a casa faço isso. Nem na escola, porque na escola no gabinete não tenho net. O que é que tu achas? Não é para achar? Já reclamei 50 vezes. Pronto, tenho aqui.
Excuse me, one point. As a chair of a conference, you need to. Yeah. Perfect.
That's what I was saying, because I will get her to this paper.
Yeah.
I will show you one thing.
Yeah.
The girl who will talk, it's not me, it's my co-author, but I'm co-author, and so I will ask her to fill this. Do you know?
Yeah,
because it's not. Okay?
Yeah. But it's the same issue even for the others.
I don't mind what they do.
Yeah.
You know, that's just to impose.
Yeah.
Okay. Não fazem mal. Desde que eu trabalhei em Setúbal, estava mesmo na parte juntinho ao rio. Eu tive grandes babas e grandes emoções. A Marina ainda não está.
Não tem nada. Já não
Não sou eu.
Já nem a parte do review, já está tudo.
Pois já foi. Está bem, não faz mal. Bem, só falta um apresentante, sabes qual é? Vou ver ao meu mail se há alguma coisa nisso. Tu estás em terras de quente, de calor, portanto tens tudo que seja insetzinho. Do you know, can you say me one thing? We need to propose, we need to say, or it's based on these reports, we need to say which is the best of the communications, or not, is this my image? Because in the dinner it's usually to name the best. It's speaking or by the reports?
I think that it's a collection of issues. It's better to consider all of them, but
usually we speak.
Yeah.
Personally, okay.
Yeah, or presentation skill, or maybe the beautiful brush that they use during.
Yes. Okay. No, I was asking because usually in past I just personally said to Osvaldo or to Beniamino, but this year is not. But look, this from my session, it was the best. I think you deserve, etc.
Yeah.
Now, all we have these reports, it's different because previously we had papers to fill.
Yeah.
This is best. Maybe they based on. seen Ola, but now I don't see.
Olá, olá,
Marina.
olá.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Marina is already. Yes. Beginning. Thank you for being here. We are just waiting 1 minute. It's almost, yes, Ola. Good afternoon, Ola. Yes, without sound, but it's present. I think all are present from this session. Yes. When will be 16, we will start. It's almost. Já podemos, acho eu, lá. Yes, let's start. We will start this session, Commission session. Thank you for being present and for participating in this session. Let's start with the first talk. The first talk, I think it's Isaac Santos, because it's present in GTC. Please, if you can upload your presentation, Isaac. The title is Application of Deep. Yes, you can. Good afternoon again. And please, if you can upload your presentation.
Okay,
the title is Application. Yes, of the deep.
I'm trying to share my.
Please.
My screen.
We can wait. It's almost. At least is in black. I think it's doing something. Permitir. I don't know. Yes, we can see already. Oh, we miss again.
Okay.
I don't know what.
That's okay?
Yes, that's okay. We can see. It's that's perfect. Okay. The title is Application of Deep XDE Library for Solving Mathematic Models with Pins. Please. You can start.
Good afternoon. My name is good afternoon. My name is Isaac dos Santos. I will present the work developed by Gabriel Barbosa and myself, titled Application of the Deep XDE Library for Solving Mathematical Models with Pins. We are from Federal University of Espírito Santo, Brazil. Here is the outline of my presentation. First, I'll give you an introduction, then discuss the fundamentals of pins, followed by an overview of the GPXD library. After that, I will present some numerical experiments and finish with conclusions. In this presentation, we begin by highlighting the central role of differential equations, both partial and ordinary. We model important problems in science and engineering. Traditionally, these equations are solved using classical methods, numerical methods like the finite element method or finite difference, finite volumes. These techniques have been the foundation of scientific computing for decades and remain powerful and reliable tools in many applications. However, this approach often requires very fine meshes to improve accuracy, which leads to high computational costs, especially when dealing with high-dimensional problems. This is commonly referred to as the curse of dimensionality. To overcome these challenges, deep learning has emerged as a powerful alternative. More specifically, PINs, Pi, ENNS, and PINs, Physics Informed Neural Network, integrate neural network with the physical laws governing the system. This allows us to solve differential equation more efficiently, even in cases where traditional methods may struggle. Now let's talk about PINs, or Physics Informed Neural Network. PINs are a type of neural network that incorporates physical laws, such as differential equations, directly into the training process. The modern formulations of PINs was popularized by Heisey and collaborators in 2019. However, the idea has earlier roots. Similar concepts were explored in the 90s by researchers like Lagares et al. The key idea behind PINs is to embed the differential equations residuals along with boundary initial conditions into the loss function. In this case, the network tries to respect the physics of the problem. Main advantages. PINs enables learning solution of PDEs using few or no labeled data. The physics provides the supervisor of the model. And the main advantage of this approach is that we can learn solution of differential equation using few data. Now, tools for efficient PINs development. To implement PINs in an efficient way, we rely on software libraries and frameworks that streamline the entire development process. First, why use framework? Because they simplify complex implementation, and speed up development, and reduce the chance of coding mistakes, which is especially important and in research workflows. There are core libraries like TensorFlow, PyTorch, and JAX providing the basic building blocks for neural network. On top of this, high-level frameworks such as SciANN and GPXGE are designed particularly for scientific computing and PINs application. These tools offer user-friendly interfaces and pre-built structure tailored to solving differential equations. The key benefit is that these tools are structured away low-level details, allowing us to focus on modeling the physics of the problem rather than the technical details of implementation. Using JIP, the library JIP XGE to build PINs. In our work, we choose the use JIP XGE, a high-level library developed by Lu and collaborators in 2021, specifically for implementing PINs in physics-informed neural network. One of the key strengths of the JIP XGE is its simplified setup. JIP XGE makes it easy to define geometries and incorporate boundary and initial conditions without much difficulty. It handles both forward and reverse problems in ancient range of application. Backend flexibility. It's compatible with popular deep learning frameworks like TensorFlow, PyTorch, Pero, and JAX, giving users the freedom to work in the environment they're most comfortable with. Now we have the formal definition. The PIN loss function. Pins are designed to solve differential equations, typically expressed in the following general form, encompassing the PDE, the equation, in this first equation, boundary and initial condition. You have the differential operator represented by this letter. B represent the boundary condition on the boundary. I represent the initial condition at time t0, initial time. And this vector denotes the model parameters. The core of a PIN is its loss function, which integrates physical constraints and the variable data into a unified minimization objective. We denote this total loss as J of theta, which is a weighted sum of 4 components. The first term corresponds to the squared residual of differential equation evaluated at collocation point inside the model. The second measures how well the solution satisfies the boundary conditions. The third is related to initial conditions, which are crucial for time-dependent problems. And finally, the last accounts for the observed data we might have. This makes PINs flexible enough to handle inverse problems too. Each term is multiplied by a weight represented by omega, these terms, which helps balance the relative importance during trying. PIN optimization problem. The training process of a PIN is fundamentally an optimization problem. The objective is to find the optimal set of neural network parameters that minimizes the total loss function previously defined. Then we have to find a vector theta, which is equals the argument that minimizes this functional, where n theta denotes the total number of trainable parameters in the work, the weights and biases. Most PIN training procedure rely on gradient-based optimization to minimize the loss function. And when combined with the backpropagation algorithm, these methods interactively adjust the network parameters to reduce the discrepancy between predicted and expected outputs. In this work, we employed both ADAM and LBFGS optimizers. Both optimizers are available in the GPXG library. Here you have the graphical representation of a PIN architecture. Here you have the input layers, the hidden layers, and the output. The output is embedded in the loss function. Now I will talk about a little bit about GPXG, his feature. GPXG was developed by Lu et al. It's a high-level Python library specifically tailored for physics-informed network. It's open source, user-friendly, and built on top of TensorFlow, and facilitates concise model definition, fast prototyping, and reproducible research and scientific computing. Now I will present a workflow for solving problem. We consider one-dimensional viscous borders equation to explain the workflow for solving problem with GPXG. This is the known equation, initial conditions, boundary conditions, and have a parameter C represent the viscosity coefficient. Step 1. We set up the environment and import GPXG. First, define the backend to be used, example, PyTorch. Then import the GPXG library. You have the code. Step 2, we have to specify the spatial and temporal domain. You have the spatial domain, and this line, the temporal domain. You have the command that implements this spatial and time domain. And here we gather both temporal and time domain of the problem. Step 3, we create the residual function. This step is very important. You have the PDE, you define the PDE, and this line will calculate the first derivative in relation related to the x variable. The first derivative related to the time, and in this line you have the second derivative. And we return the residual of the equation. Here you have a specific equation we are solving. Step 4, specify the problem constraints, the boundary and initial condition for the problem. Step 5, define the training data for the pin. You use this number to the quantity of points, collocation points in the domain, and the boundary condition, and initial data. Step 6, configure the neural network model, define the architecture, activation function, training, strategy, include the optimizer and learning rate. This first line, you have the layer size, two neurons in the first layer, 2 layers of with 5 neurons per layer, and the last layer you have 1 neuron. You have the activation function. You create the model and compile with Adam and the learning rate. Step 7 is the step of training the pin. The model could be trained using 1 or more optimization methods. It's common to pre-train with a fast optimizer like Adam and then refine with a second order method. Finally, we save and visualize the results. GPXG provides built function to save the trained model and automatically plot training metrics such as the loss curves. It's important to visualize the results. Inverse problems. We can estimate no parameters from data, so inverse problem with GPXG is straightforward. We need to define the trainable variable and include it in the model configuration. In this example, Berg equation estimated diffusion coefficient. It's very simple to do. And now I will talk about the numerical experiment. We solved the Verhulst logistic model, the Gray-Scott reaction diffusion system, the CIP epidemiological model, cavity problem, flow, Navier-Stokes equation, compressible Navier-Stokes equation, and the C model calibrated with COVID-19 data. Because of the time, I will explain only some of these experiments. The first one is the Verhulst logistic model. The Verhulst logistic model is defined by the following initial value problem. The exact solution is given by this equation, is a ODE, and this is the initial condition. Its model describes the growth of a population, they're not denoted by P, over time, T. This model is widely used in biology and ecology to study population dynamics. A is the growth, it's a parameter representing the growth rate. And B is a parameter that controls the strength of the limit effects. The model was solved in the time interval 0.5, parameters A, B, two initial conditions were tested. The neural network was with two hidden layers and 50 neurons per layers. Adam optimizing and learning rate, and the network was trained for 20,000 images. Here you have the results. In solution with initial condition P0 equals 12 on the left. On the right, the initial condition P0 equals 8. 4, you have the exact end in solution. You have a good agreement between solutions. For in the first figure, the p-solution achieved an infinity norm error of order 10 to minus 4. And for P, for initial condition equals 8, the infinity norm error was of order 10 to minus 4. The second example is the gray Scott. 1G, the gray Scott model. It is defined by the following system of reaction diffusion equations. dU and dB are the diffusion coefficient for species U and V respectively. F is the feed rate that controls the input of U, and K is the removal rate of V. The nonlinear reaction picture represents an alkylic process where V catalyzes the transformation of U into more V. Using the diffusion coefficient equals 1 in applying this transformation, we can obtain the analytical solution for U and V. It's important to highlight that this model has many applications in mathematical biology, physics, and nonlinear dynamics due to its ability to generate rich and intricate special patterns. Here you have the result of PIN solution. We use a neural network with 4 hidden layers and 20 neurons per layer. Trained using Adam optimizer. Learning rate, number of iterations. You have the infinite norm of error for U and V. You have the figure showing the results. We can see that PIN capture the spatial temporal dynamics of the system with good accuracy. Then you have the epidemiological model, C model. The C model describes the spread of infection disease in the population. It's defined by the system of Ortiz. We use these parameters, B, initial condition. You have, we compare the PIN solution with the classical fourth Range-Coulter method. Then on the left, you have the PIN solution, on the right, the Range-Coulter solution, this reference solution. And you calculate the error between solutions, these solutions, using the infinite norm. You have a good agreement between solutions. Maybe because of time, I can continue. Okay?
Acho que não sei net.
Incompressible Navier-Stokes equation. The incompressible Navier-Stokes equation given for this system of equation. This is an important equation in dynamic of fluids. We solved the Navier-Stokes equation, specifically the leading cavity flow problem. It's a two-dimensional problem. This problem models the motion of an incompressible fluid inside a square cavity. The top boundary moves horizontally, reducing the flow, and used the Reynolds number equals 100. We have the equations and the solutions of the Navier-Stokes equation. Left, horizontal velocity, right, vertical velocity. The solution of the time with P was compared to the reference data from this armature, and the arrow in the velocity field measured using the infinite norm was this value. You see a good result from P. And finally, we have our inverse problem to estimate parameters of the C model. We consider the C epidemiological model using time series data for susceptible, affected, and recovered individuals. Okay?
Isaac.
Oi.
Já vai nos 25 minutos. Tens que avançar um bocadinho mais rápido.
Okay, I will stop. This is the C model. You have the solution, and we obtain the parameters. And finally, you have the conclusions. Quem era promising alternative to traditional methods to solve differential equations. One of the greatest advantages of PINs is the ease of implementation, which require only the definition of a residual function to be incorporated into the network loss function. Python libraries like GPXG facilitate that process even more by providing an easy-to-use interface to define the loss function, boundary and initial conditions, and the domain of interest. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any doubts? In presence? No. And someone in that are online, some doubts? I just go to make one question. I know that it is kind of method as obviously its advantages. And about precision, what can you say? Comparing with traditional methods that we can usually obtain if the problem is well conditioned, we can obtain usually the precision that we want, usually, not the non-conditional problems. What you can say about this method?
The traditional method, PIN's methodology is in its infancy. There are lots of improvements to do in this area. This strategy has difficult in some problems to converge. In fact, we don't have in the literature much information about the convergence rates of these techniques yet. Maybe in the future.
Okay. Yes, Isaac.
Oi.
Isaac.
Okay.
Yes, I think and I don't know if we were frozen or it was you that was frozen. I think we are concluding your session, your contribution. I had done a question, but later, okay, because it's a little late. I was just talking about precision, but I'm going to ask you later, okay? And I will ask Hola to upload your presentation, please. Hola, it's next speaker, and we will speak about
Thank you very much.
features of design. Sorry? Yes? I think it's not working well. Okay. Hola?
Maybe the connection is not stable.
Okay, okay. Good afternoon, Hola. Yes? Yes, you can upload your work, please.
Good afternoon. I am Olga Sichenko, and I represent the research with which was carried out at Kyiv Aviation Institute.
Yes, and they are going to talk about features of designing control systems of test aviation moving platforms, please.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes. Yes, we can see. You can put full screen, please.
The report is
yes,
screen,
it's
please.
okay.
Features of design and control systems of test. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes, you can. It's okay. Yes, please start.
Features of design and control systems of tested aviation moving platforms. Nowadays, the relevance of improving control for payloads, optical sensors, video cameras, antennas, and observation equipment used in aviation-tested moving platforms is increasing. The solution to this problem requires new approaches to create and control systems of inertially stabilized platforms. The typical tasks of control of payloads operated on aviation-tested moving platforms are as follows. Stabilization of the payload in the vertical and horizontal planes during the platform's angular motion. Guidance of the payload sighting axis to fixed and moving reference points. Combination of the first two modes of stabilized guidance of the payload sighting axis to reference points. The development of the control system requires the research of some factors which could ensure the successful designing and manufacturing of the studied system. The basic issues of this research are features of linearization as real stabilization system are usually nonlinear. So it's a need to analyze typical nonlinearities and the possibilities of conversion to a linearized model. 2. Features of the simulation of the disturbed motion. And 3. The procedure of synthesis of the control system based on a robust approach. The mathematical description, I want to represent features of linearization based on main devices of this system, because it's impossible to describe all necessary devices and units. Gyro device, the basic measuring instrument. Its equation is represented in the terms of output rotation angle. And here you can see main nonlinearities due to gyroscopic moment and others. The main nonlinearity of this model is caused by the torsion hysteresis, and expressions 2 and 3 describe this hysteresis. It's necessary to say that we have here two basic directions. Firstly, we must obtain linearized model for synthesis procedures, because all known methods basically are grounded on linearized models. But after this, it's necessary to check synthesized system using model which takes into considerations all inherent non-linearities. Because in this case, we will carry out simulation on the model which is similar to the real system. So our research is necessary for creation of the complete non-linear model, and we also must understand the features of linearization. We must know what terms must be neglected. And now you can see equation which describes stabilization object or platform with different payload. You can see that we have trigonometric function here and friction moment signum function. This function can be replaced with linear constituent with definite coefficients. The next very important nonlinearity is considered with the mode backlash. And you can see here flow chart, which represent action of these nonlinearities. Results of the simulation of this nonlinearity also are given in the next slide. You see, only a very, very small time is used here because only in this case we can see non-linearities, action of this non-linearity. And next figure shows us influence of the backflash on the transient process of the angular rate from 0 to 2.5 seconds. We can see at the interval 0.1 second bright influence of this backlash. Next problem, simulating external disturbances. To perform the design procedure for the research system, it's necessary to simulate operating disturbances. For aviation-tested moving platforms, the disturbed action depends on the roughness caused by the relief profile. In its turn, the influence of relief roughnesses depends on terrain topographic features. Therefore, the simulation technique is based on the use of the roughness profile. This characteristic is defined by a section of the relief by the wing's motion direction. In frequent situations, we could change the profile by the micro profile when determining random external movements. The specific feature of the micro profile is connected with the absence of constituents with low frequency. As both profile and micro profile can be described by random processes, it is appropriate to apply them in procedure of analysis and synthesis of spectral densities of this process. And you can see expressions for such a representation. It's very difficult to describe all the variety of external disturbances connected with the relief. There is some classification which allows us to use or another forming filter for simulation disturbed motion. You can see here representations which is divided by the heights of the micro profile. We can use here 3 types of representations. Another way of roughness classification for these 4 subgroups, including prevalence of long humanoids, bottom length, buckles, and uniform roughnesses. The spectral density for every subgroup is described by the relationships shown in slide 12. As the relief microprofile can be described by a normal random process, and to imitate this process, we can use the white noise and the input of forming filter for simulation of the disturbed motion of our platform. Expressions 10, 11 show us Finally, representation of this forming filter. And to synthesize a stabilization system of considered mobile platforms, it's desired to accept some definite kind of contact between the terrain and carriers. Namely, this influence of contact area is represented in expressions 12 and 13. Now you can see result, stabilization of the plot from a simulation, of course, in conditions of the tested signal and in conditions of the disturbed signals. And the third approach, synthesis of robust system. For the considered system, the most preferred approach is to apply the combined optimization function, which takes into account both accuracy and robustness or resistance to internal and external disturbances. Separate constituents of the objective function have been created using H2 and H infinity norms of the control system. The influence of every component can be regulated by weighting coefficients. These coefficients are defined by requirements for the system and can be changed during interactive procedures of the namely synthesis. The basic phases of the robust system include creating complete models with nonlinearities, creating normal and disturbed models in the space of states. Then the objective function with weighting coefficients is determined. The objective function also includes the penalty function, which ensures the control system stability during optimization. Namely, the optimization procedure is based on the Nelde-Mead method, known method. After this, we must check results of our synthesis. If results are not satisfy requirements, we must change initial data or weighting coefficients and repeat our procedure again. And now please result. Response to a step signal for the nominal system at left and figure 6, and for the system increased for the nominal and increased moments in the horizontal plane at left and the vertical plane at the right. You can say that the system is really robust because we have differences at the beginning of our transient process, but further, this process for normal and disturbed system coincide. The same transient processes, but they are connected with changing of rigidity of the elastic connection between the stabilization object and the mode. And you can see the same effect. The system is really robust because pay your attention. Changes of parameters are very significant. 150%. And we finally have stable normal motion. And finally, of course, process of the angular rate for the terrain with middle roundness and with bumps. Of course, the case represented in figure 11 is more difficult. Some characteristics, H2 norms, H infinity norms, they are small, and this is very good for such a system. Approaches to linearization of the mathematical description and simulation disturbances arising due to terrain relief roundnesses are considered. The features of linearization of the control system of mobile platforms are explained. The procedure for synthesis of consistent system is considered. The proposed procedure is grounded on the combined objective function, including accuracy and robustness of the system. The obtained simulation results prove the efficiency of the proposed synthesis procedure. It's planned in future to create similar complete mathematical description for platforms with payload which are operated on unmanned aerial vehicles. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Hala. Any question? I have one. Tell me if I understand a thing. I know that you have here a huge work, because it is. I'm from mathematics and statistics, and I always like to understand how you measure the precision. It's by when you are optimizing your modeling, you just the precision, it's the accuracy, it's measured by included in the optimization, yes? When you are optimizing?
Yes, included optimization using Nelder during synthesis process.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Let's talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you for.
Thank you. We'll pass to next speaker. Will be Marina Andrade. She will talk about modeling the service quality indicators using quantile regression. You can upload your presentation, please.
Okay. Okay, it's this one here. Are you seeing it?
No.
No.
No. Maybe waiting a little.
Okay. Share. I think it's. Is it now?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay. Okay. So good afternoon. I'm going to speak about the modeling of service quality indicators, particularly the time interruption equivalent to power installed and energy non-delivered, using the quantile regression. This is a work that we have been doing with the service quality indicators, and we are trying to make a study on how these indicators behave and the impacts between themselves and what they the impact they may have in people's lives. Okay, so I will have an introduction on this topic, and then I'll define the quantile regression approach to this service continuity indicators, and some results, and also some final remarks. So starting with this introduction, it is important to mention that Redes, which is a company, it is the primary operator of Portugal's mainland electricity distribution network, and they manage the high, the medium, and low voltage networks, serving over 6 million customers in the Portugal mainland. So each year, the distribution network operator must record and analyze the number and the total duration of this the service interruptions to all the delivery points, in order to define and evaluate and monitor and adjust the service with quality standards that they are obliged to fulfill. So in November 2022, this Redes launched an open data portal to share relevant data from their operation, aiming to show some transparency within the community, and also acting as a catalyst for the country's energy transition. And naturally, for electric utilities, ensuring high service continuity is vital for maintaining the customer's trust and complying with the governmental regulations. Therefore, the frequent and long outage can significantly impact on customers with inconvenience, of course, to reduce productivity also in commercial and industrial sectors, and even pose some public safety risks. Here we are going to observe, and we have focused the main interest in the medium voltage indicators, and studying the time interruption of equivalent installed power, the energy when delivered, as functions of the system average interruption duration index and the system average interruption frequency. And we decided to, because we haven't observed homogeneous variability, the quantile regression approach to these service indicators seemed more adequate. So the data set that we have studied here spans from 2014 to 2022 and includes detailed records on these service interruptions across all Portuguese municipalities. The indicators are disaggregated by municipality codes and classified according to quality service regulation zones that are already defined. And these zones these quality service regulation zones are three. The zone A focus on the district capitals or municipalities over 25,000 customers. Zone B more on municipalities with 2,500 to up to 25,000 customers, and Zone C, the remaining municipalities with fewer than 2,500 customers. And also the municipality codes that are 278 and which spread into the three quality service regulation zones. So here we intended to study these indicators, the time interruption equivalent to power installed and the energy non-delivered, as dependent variables, posing the hypothesis that they are functions of both the interruptions patterns, the duration of the interruptions, and the frequency of the interruptions, and also as with the municipality codes and the difference in the different quality service regulation zones. So this service continuity is assumed through the standard reliability as the system average interruption duration index, the system average interruption frequency index, and we wanted as continuous variables, and we want to analyze the determinants of these indicators using this quantile regression model approach. So quantile regression is classified as a Q of YI, which may be understand as the sum from J to 1 from 1 to K of tau X over J, where the Q of Y is the task quantile of the response variable, either the time interruption or the energy delivered, conditional on the recovery rates XY. And these beta J are the quantile specific regression coefficients. So, as I've mentioned, the quantile regression is robust to outliers and reveals the heterogeneity in the predictor effects across the quantiles, which was one of the problems with this kind of data. We have found several situations with outliers and heterogeneity in the data. So the quantile regression was one of possible interest approach. So this seemed much more interesting to analyze the performance in both high and low reliability municipalities, those particularly those that exhibit the non-homogeneous variability, because this is we could find that there are big difference in different municipalities. So in order just to see what I am referring to, we have made the descriptive analysis. In this descriptive analysis pointed out that the effect of the quality regulation, quality service regulation zone, is not significant in these indicators, the time equivalent interruption of power installed and the energy non-delivered, but the same variables reveal differences concerning the municipality codes. We can see here all these three graphs are very comprised, but you can see these are simply regression graphs. In the dark blue, the time interruption equivalent to power installed indicator. In the red, the system average interruption duration index, and light blue, the energy non-delivery. So we can see some pattern between the dark blue and the red, but we can also observe the peaks in the light blue. This is simply to show that we have lots of data, and we could identify here some peaks where the municipalities have a lower performance. So we started, I'm going to present the model fit for the first indicator. And as I've mentioned, it was modeled as the dependent variable using quantile regression and the explanatory variables, system average interruption duration index, and the quality service regulation zones classification, and also the municipality codes at the 25, 50, and 75 percentiles in aiming to capture the variation in the system vulnerability. Sorry. So for this variable, the pseudo square error values are here. We can see that it is increasing across as the quantiles increase, and they suggest that the model improved to capture the higher the performance at the higher quantiles, showing that the greater variability can be explained among these municipality codes that exhibit poorer continuity results. We have put here only some bidders for the duration index, and these exhibit a positive and statistically significant effect on this indicator across the quantiles. But we can see that these beta are increasing. So these findings indicate that the longer average interruption time duration lead to higher capacity weighted for the exposure, which is more pronounced among the worst performing municipality codes. It was interesting that we started with also the frequency index, but the index that really exhibits effect was the duration of the break. So here I'm just presenting some of the municipality codes that have high efficiency, particularly at the 75 quintile, pointing out some difficult municipality codes that need some intervenings. The quintile of 25 and 50% present in this case low values and no critical in like location. So we could find the local structure deficiencies, problems such as operational stress, environmental vulnerabilities, and also in order to pursue or try to pursue some actions in in the networks in order to avoid these problems. Here we can see the prediction lines for this variable. Now I'm going to discuss the model fit of the energy non-delivered. And here we can see the pseudo squared errors values also increasing from the 25 percentile up to the 75 percentile. These results suggest that the model performs better as well in higher quintiles, capturing more variation among the more problematic municipality codes, the ones that exhibit poorer service continuity. So this with this indicator, again, the impact of the duration of the outage was exhibit more effect and showed that it has significant effect across the quintiles, and we could confirm that results that longer average interruption durations are associated with higher volumes of the non-supplied energy. And of course that we could identify the municipality codes at which those critical situations or the more critical situations exist. So I'm just presenting here some of the critical municipality codes, and we could see that particularly at the 75 percentile, the peaks are significantly higher, indicating that a small number of municipality codes have some disproportional effect, and it's possible to identify which are the critical municipality codes and that the ones that need more intervention to correct something in order to have more better result. So to finish, it's important to say that the first time interruption equivalent power install indicator, when used, the quantile regression offers some complementary insights concerning the system resilience under the conditions of the service interruption. This indicator also represents the duration of the supply loss and reflects the capacity weighted exposures of the network and of course its users, whether they are companies or particular customers. So the strong positive association between the variables, especially at the upper quantiles, confirms that the duration of the outage is a key driver to the systemic vulnerability. Concerning the energy non-delivered indicator, the variation in municipality level effects across quantiles suggests that a few locations here a disproportionate burden of service with the unreliability, and these findings show that geographically it is necessary geographically granular regulation, potentially informed by clusters or maybe machine learning to study and analyze the risks in the network. So this analysis also reveals that municipality codes effects explain most of the variability, while the quality service regulation zones lose their explanatory power once the local heterogeneity is taken into account. So this could be understood as those zones are well organized. We need to focus on the municipality codes because it's there that we find some difficulties. So this suggests that some infrastructure investments and regulatory oversight should be geographically targeted to address the places in which we could identify vulnerabilities and in which those are systematic. So the national distribution strategy should adopt a more geographical approach, identifying and targeting the municipalities that persist with their underperformances. The regulatory frameworks may also benefit from integrating this quantile regression to evaluate performance targets that recognize and address some extreme situations. To follow this work may be followed in future research work which could incorporate dynamic factors such as environmental risk, climate exposure, population density, to provide some deeper insights into these systemic drivers of energy resilience, and to also inform the infrastructure planning to offer, of course, better service. And this is all. Thank you.
Just use 20 minutes. Okay, thank you. Any question? No. I have not one question, but 2 comments.
Okay.
Please go to slide 13.
Slide 13, sorry. Certain.
You missed the heads.
Sorry?
You missed the heads.
Yes. Yes, I did. It was a rush, but thank you for noticing.
When there is a kind of regression, it was almost a surprise to me because I didn't call these in 90s. We called these, it was just mudança. We just changed variables that we were using because there is heterostaticity, and we divide, as it was, it took place heterostaticity in the large scale. We divide by several parts the data, ordered and divide in several parts. In each part, we calculate or compute the standard deviation, and after that we divide each value per the standard deviation. And with the new variables, we make the usual regression. Notice that almost same thing. And in that sense, we almost eliminate the heteroscedasticity. This regression that we call the quantile regression almost does the same thing. Now, as a name, in that time it was a scheme. But it was a surprise, but a good surprise. At least we call some things with a structure that has already have been studied and as a whole. So it's just a comment. Next speaker will be Paula Simões, and we'll talk about psychological impact of personal protective equipment in distinct thermal environments. She comes from Portuguese Military Academy, and I'm going from this computer because she will present here.
Não, estou a tentar. I'm trying. Good afternoon. I'm trying to share.
Não, share é essa setinha grande à esquerda, a terceira à esquerda.
The third one. Okay, it's you. No?
The last one.
This.
Yes.
Yes. Everyone is seeing now?
Yes.
Yes. So I will start. So thank you for the presentation. So this is I'm from the Military Academy, Portuguese Army, where I'm a professor and a researcher in probability and statistics area, and also computational mathematics. This is a joint work with Coronel Lucena, that is in the meeting, and the Professor Nuno Almeida from the Military Readiness Lab and also the Military Academy Research Center. Both works with the military physiological training performance. So, in general, military teams face extreme conditions, and in particular, the chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear, most known as CBR, and military teams face hazardous environments due to nature of their functions, and also because of the characteristics of the personal protective equipment that is essential but can rapidly and dangerously increase vital physiological parameters, especially in hot climates. This study has as a research objective investigate the physiological impact of this personal protective equipment in distinct thermal environments. We consider an ambient temperature and also a high temperature, and is validated through statistical analysis. And in this part, because of the nature of the data and the reduced number of elements, we have to consider the non-parametrical non-parametrical statistical techniques in order to consider the statistical inference for drawing reliable conclusions on heat tolerance and preventing adverse clinical situations. Okay. In terms of the experimental design, we consider the military academy students as a considered representative sample. They perform a protocol with 3 consecutive cycles, exercise cycles for 30 minutes, and 2 environmental conditions ambient temperature about 18 degrees and the high temperature about 27 degrees. In the first cycle and the other ones, the first exercise, the participant standing facing a 5 kilo sandbag, and they must carry it for 4 minutes from one wall to another. Then followed by the 1 minute rest, and then they perform a second exercise, a step exercise for 4 minutes. During this protocol, we measure several indicators of two types. The physiological one as the core temperature, the skin temperature, and the heart rate. And in thermal perception, we consider the thermal sensation, the thermal comfort, perception of skin moisture, and the rate of perceived exertion. So it's here. So starting with some results about the physiological response in the core temperature, we denote a slight increase in both environments, but the median value was not significantly different across time, even in exercise 1 and exercise 2 for the ambient temperature and for the high temperature. When you consider this physiological indicator for the different sexes, we analyze and conclude that significant difference across sexes as appearing in exercise 1 in ambient temperature, but not in high temperature. And for the exercise 2, no difference were detected. Moving to the skin temperature indicator, this indicator reveals significant difference over time in exercise 1 for the ambient temperature and also for the high temperature. In the exercise 2, also significant difference were found, but for the ambient temperature. For this indicator, we also consider the difference about sex, but they were not detected for the first exercise in the two environments, and for the second exercise, the difference emerged just in the high temperature. The third indicator for the physiological response related with the heart rate, that is an important indicator. It increased throughout the protocol, and the median value was significantly different across times in the high temperature. And we moved from pairwise difference, and we detected the moments of the cycles that has more importance in these differences. Going through the sex difference analysis, in here for the heart rate, no difference were found. Going now to the second type of indicators, that from the subjective perception and the thermal stress, we consider the rate of perceived exertion that ranges from 6 to 20, and 6 is considered very easy, and 20 considered exhaustive perception. In this indicator, the values did not show significant difference across temperature or both exercises, which suggests that the protocol induced moderate rather than extreme physical strain. Then we have more 3 considered indicators. The first is the thermal comfort, that is a 5 level scale, graded between the very uncomfortable to the very comfortable. We consider also the thermal sensation. In this one, we consider a 7-level scale between the very cold and the very hot, and the skin moisture, that is also a 7-level scale, graded between the very dry to the very wet. These indicators showed a clear relationship with ambient temperature, as internal and skin temperature increased. To the thermal comfort tend to decrease, while the thermal sensation and the perception of skin moisture tend to increase. We also consider in in the objective perception the sex difference and the both environments, and for the ambient temperature, no statistical significance for the difference were generally met, but the male participant tends to report feeling warmer and less comfortable and experience considerably higher skin moisture compared to the female participants. When we move to the high environment, discrepancies between the sex in thermal perceptions were smaller compared to the ambient conditions, indicating that in this environment a more uniform response and a higher thermal load. So going to some conclusions, we consider that this study confirms that the personal protective equipment exhibits the thermal strain, and we can evidence it the physiological parameters that are most important in doing this, like the skin temperature and the heart rate. In the first type. In the second type, the subjective perceptions, we consider the thermal comfort, sensation, and moisture. Consider the non-parametrical statistical analysis to perform different hypothesis testing. We can evidence specific difference in the physiological responses and also the thermal perceptions based on the two environmental temperatures that was implemented in the protocol, and extended this analysis to the difference between the sex of the participants. So the protocol is validity and assessment tool for the CBRN teams adaptively, and is supported by these findings in this work that we bring here. We also have some limitation, main of all the received sample size that limited the general ability of the analysis and the main results. And the protocol's impact on physiological parameters was observed to be slight, suggesting the scope for optimization to induce more pronounced effects. As a future work, because it's an ongoing work, we consider the protocol refinement that is remodel the study protocol to induce more pronounced physiological effects. We are concerned with the sample size expansion, but is a difficult one, but it is crucial to increase the sample size to enhance statistical power for the generability of these results, and also to consolidate the algorithm for predicting the internal temperature with higher confidence. We also want to develop a robust tool that is create a statistical validated specific heat tolerance tables for the CBRN teams in order to have a selection process, operational readiness, evaluation, and return to duty decision, ensuring data-driven recommendations. So thank you for attention and some questions.
Agora tens que perguntar algumas questões, por isso me fala.
Okay, I cannot see the meeting when I'm sharing the screen. But any questions? Where are the Zoom?
Any questions? So,
we can change now.
Any questions? No? No? Any questions? So I have two. Which statistics did you use? Because you told here that was no parametric.
Yes.
Which ones?
We consider the Wilcoxon text for the pairwise and the Kurzweil test for the more than one in the protocol for testing the several times with the different indicators.
There is here one question more.
Yes.
When you are using scale and not scale, do you divide can you can use different statistics.
That I mentioned is for the scale indicators.
Okay.
The measure, the continuous.
Exactly.
The first
Yes.
three, the
Yes.
core temperature, the heart rate, and the skin temperature.
That's why I
Just
was,
this.
because you need to put there just one word or 3 words. Test, you use test, because it can induce some questions. Because the p-value, it's not enough. You shall put in the slide, it's just 3 words. Use test.
Okay.
Not put the hypothesis, but used, or I know that it was the parallel that not use every.
This in the presentation because we want that the persons go and read the article to get inside of the study.
I know, but a note. There is note at the end of the page.
Which text is used, but it was the option.
Okay, not at the end of the page. Nobody jump, just
go.
It's no go. Okay, but it's okay. Thank you. Very nice. I like to get the colorful words, and the formulas are awful for this. Yes. Thank you very much. Now it's my time to thank all participants and all works I appreciate a lot. From the first that simplify numerics, the second that we see very real applications. That I know that it's a very hard work behind what we see, that it seems just simple slides to the huge work that it's behind. From the marine work that I'm familiar, because I'm co-work and co-author, and I know that it's from Paula and Rui that I assist first representation, then second, and both of them just contribute positively, because one gives the military perspective and is present online, and second one gives the non-military perspective. It is nice also. So thank to all for being present here and for contributing to this. Thank you very much. Now I'm closing the session. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Como é que eu encerro? Como é que isto se encerra? Isto deve ter aqui uma palavra para encerrar. This is in Turkish. I don't know the word close. Trying here. Oh, I think it's here.